What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Scyushi, and we are back in some more Genshin Impact. This video is a bit late. I'll admit that. I've been busy, not only just streaming Genshin and having fun, but I thought it would be interesting for us to end up going through the patch notes together, just because there are some things of worth in here, and maybe you're coming back to Genshin and you don't have time to end up watching through some of my hours of streaming with a new area. But in short, we got a new area, we got new characters, we got new weapons, there's all sorts of things, and I'm slowly discovering more and more to this area, and oh boy, it's beautiful. The music is, they should win an award for this, dude. Like, the music sounds so good, the environment is beautiful, and sets a new standard for the game, right? I think we can all agree on that. Even the world quests are really good, and the story apparently is really good. I haven't gotten to experience too much of it just yet. I only really got the introduction area, which was kind of about taxes and not really super interesting. Anyways, let's get into it. So the update itself is going in, including the new region, which is 3 different islands. I've only explored the one, just as a perspective right there. But there's going to end up being a second island right here, and then a third island down over here, which, as you can see, includes some new domains as well. There only seems to be 3 different domains right now that are the repeatable ones, and then there's also going to end up being 3 domains that are the one and done. You do it once, you end up getting the items, and then you end up moving on. But the areas themselves are thematically extremely different from one another. I ended up actually kind of just taking a sneak peek at the second island, and well, it's way more deadly, and not only just in the environment itself, but also the enemies than the first island. And even the third island, I've heard, quite literally will just slowly destroy your characters if you don't end up being too careful, which kind of makes sense just because there's lots of stormy weather and stuff way in the distance. But anyways, we don't need to get into all of it. So there's going to end up being a new system in Inazuma, which is the sacred tree, which is going to end up being right up here. So the Grand Numeric Tree of the Sacred Sakura. Let's actually warp up here. I'll kind of give you guys a rundown of some of the different mechanics that we can end up experiencing in this area. We're also going to be talking about some of the newer characters as well. But basically, if you end up climbing up this mountain right here, you'll end up getting to this shrine. And it's absolutely breathtaking up here, but this is going to end up being the ancient Sakura tree, right? So the way that this tree is going to end up working is it's going to end up providing various buffs and end up leveling up through exploration. So if you enjoyed exploration in the game, you are going to be rewarded for that. Pretty much every single chest in the Inazuma region is going to end up giving you sigils that you can then end up using. As you can see, I have 91 out of 25 to continuously level up your tree. Not only are you going to end up getting various rewards, but through leveling up your tree, you're going to end up making Electrogranum, they call it. In the top left, you can see up there. That's going to end up becoming more and more powerful. There's also going to end up being, just behind my face cam, it says reach level 17 in the Sacred Sakura's favor to unlock a new ability for the Electrograna. And Electrograna is basically this plant that you'll end up finding out in the open world. I can show you guys in a moment. That will end up making you immune to electricity in certain regions and allow you to pass through certain barriers and stuff. They do a pretty good job having a lot of it accessible very early on within Inazuma so that you can understand these mechanics, and a lot of world quests will end up talking to you about them. But the point is that the Sakura tree is just going to take and take and take and take and take more and more sigils, right? And these sigils again are gotten from chests, and I've heard, I haven't found any myself, but I've heard that certain chests might actually just be completely inaccessible until you've actually leveled up your Sakura tree enough that you can then end up reaching those chests. As some of them I've heard are locked as well, but that could just be a rumor that I'm hearing. I'm not sure. Someone confirm in the comments down below. But anyways, as we end up going down the tree, you can see there is a lot of levels to this. It actually goes up to level 50. And as far as I know, we cannot actually max out this tree as of right now. Because apparently the way that it's going to work in terms of Inazuma is from now and until the end of the year, Genshin's updates are supposedly going to add more and more islands to Inazuma. I don't know if they're going to end up being necessarily very large or anything, and even then this is not 100% confirmed, but it would make sense that they would end up adding more and more content to Inazuma, just because then there would be more and more chests for us to get more and more sigils to level up, level up the sacred tree and stuff like that. But anyways, let me go over to the starting area here so I can show you the Electrogranum. And I also want to give you guys a quick heads up that anytime you end up seeing these world quests, not only you can either mark them on your map, or you can at least accept the quest, because I made the mistake of exploring the entirety of this first island, saw a bunch of these quests, and I thought that it was just automatically unlocking them on my map, but it's not. It's actually based on proximity, so I can only see this quest when I'm next to it. And so what I ended up having to do was just kind of re-explore a lot of the island, and then just leave a little marker down so that I can end up making sure that I see these quests. So I'd recommend that if you don't want to end up doing these quests right away, you can at least talk to the NPC so that you'll have the quest permanently available in your quest location, or your quest tab, sorry. But the other thing too is doing these quests is going to end up being very beneficial for you, especially this Shrine Maiden lady. So basically when you get to Inazuma, you're going to start out in that town that's right over there, and you have to advance the story quest in order to end up getting permission to leave the town. And then at that point, it's free reign. You can go absolutely anywhere. And then as soon as you see these world quests, they're going to end up giving you access to various things. So there's actually another world quest right over here that is going to teach you about the Electrogranum, which is going to end up being this, or Electrogranum. Sorry, I'm trying to remember it. But anyways, you grab it, and now we got this little guy floating around us, and this barrier right here that we couldn't pass through previously, now we can. And if we end up going up to the well, this thing right here with the Electrogranum, it simply just turns the barrier off. So even if the granite ends up wearing out, the barrier is gone, so long as we still remain within the area. If we end up leaving and coming back, the barrier will just be back. It's just kind of an exploration thing. There's also going to end up being a bunch of our fun mechanics, which I really like. I don't know what it's called specifically, but let me actually just head up over here to this other Electrogranum, just because this is going to end up being our example. There's a navigation thing that we end up getting where we can actually, you can see there's an electric stream pulling us to this, and all we gotta do is press the button combination and it'll actually end up pulling us up to them, which ends up being a whole lot of fun for navigating a lot of this area, because it means that we actually have some form of vertical travel. Even if you don't have certain characters that will end up giving you access to vertical travel, like Kazuha or Venti, and so on and so forth, right? But before I get too ahead of myself, the point is that I was trying to get to with a lot of these world quests, especially the Shrine Maiden, is it will actually end up giving you various tools. So this Shrine Maiden, I know, gives you a tool called the Lens, and then anytime you end up seeing one of these shrine statues, this tiny little chibi fox statue right here, that has a blue aura around it, or like on it, whatever, you'll be able to use the lens on it to end up seeing various things in the environment, and these can end up leading to chests as well as exploration. The quest of hers is also going to tell us to kind of cure roots of the sacred Sakura tree. I won't get into too much detail, and as you can see right now, I can't even give you guys that many spoilers in general, but in short, there's going to end up being an underground caving system on this island that you will not be able to access until you start that world quest. So it's recommended that you do that before you end up exploring, because then you'll end up slowly unlocking more caves and stuff like that. Or if you don't end up wanting to end up starting that quest yet, you can at least end up setting down a bunch of markers. Like I put down markers at all the points of interest, whether it be lenses or areas where I know there's a cave entrance and stuff like that. So hopefully I'll be able to end up figuring all of that out quite easily once I end up actually starting the world quest. There's also going to end up being over in Inazuma City. There's going to end up being well, let me actually show you. There's going to be new weapons that you can end up crafting, but those are actually tied to world quests as well. So in order to end up using your Northlander sword, for example, to craft a new katana weapon at your crafting tables, you'll have to have accepted and gotten the world quest that's out in the world, right? And there's going to end up being a world quest for each of the different weapons, as far as I know. There's all sorts of new food items and stuff like that. A lot of the shops in Inazuma City, you won't actually be able to do anything or buy anything from them until you end up advancing the quest line enough. And I would recommend that you end up getting to Inazuma as soon as possible, and probably rushing the main quest as soon as possible, just because of the fact that it's going to end up unlocking so many things that you might otherwise miss if you don't end up timing things correctly, you know? So you can see like the sigil person right here. Like, I don't even know how we're going to access this person or how we're going to buy anything, because normally this is the NPC, the souvenir shop where you end up spending sigils, but we're literally using sigils to level up the Sakura tree. So it's like, okay, whatever. There's not really that much to do in the Inazuma temple in the city, because of course that's tied to the main quest line that, you know, will advance that a little bit further. But if you're wondering for this week where you're going to end up getting your reputation quests, and more specifically your bounties, because that's obviously tied to the, you know, tied to the weekly battle pass, but also tied to getting your new wings, your reputation wings, as well as reputation rewards. So up over here, when you're climbing along the mountain, you can end up taking this way or this way, and there's going to be all sorts of really cool things that you can do. Again, I don't want to give you too much in terms of spoiling, as well as I don't want to show you the entirety of the island, because I feel like the sense of adventure and exploration is something you want to experience for yourselves as you end up going through all of it for the first time. But this is going to end up being a significant character's estate that you'll end up talking to throughout the quest line. And you're going to have to advance the main quest enough that you can end up interacting with this dude in order to end up getting the Inazuma reputation quest, which I have not actually done that. I'm going to try my best to do that before the end of the week so that I can get my reputations done before the weekly reset. And unfortunately, I already ended up doing one of my weekly reputation quests in Mondstadt, which kind of sucks, but hey, whatever. So anyways, you want to end up getting this guy unlocked as soon as possible as well. Okay, so another thing to end up mentioning is they've changed a few things with how commissions work and so on and so forth. You can actually now select your region for commissions, which I think is really cool. You can set it to random, so you end up going all across the entire open world, or maybe you specifically want to do quests in Mondstadt or Liyue. Once you end up changing this, it's only going to take effect after the next daily reset. I'm obviously using all of mine in Inazuma just because I want to end up exploring there, and I think that it's a really cool area. The interesting thing too is that the Inazuma area is on the same map as the rest of the game. I thought it was going to end up being somewhere separate, like your Serenitea, but no, it turns out that you actually have to scroll all the way back over to Liyue and Mondstadt. Or a nice little trick that you can end up doing from Inazuma is if at any point you end up trying to go to the Spiral Abyss, it's automatically going to end up taking you all the way up here, so you can use that to your advantage to very easily select all of these areas. Otherwise, you got to drag all the way over in order to end up going to Inazuma. I would really like it if they ended up either having sub areas in this map region where you could end up selecting, you know, you select Teyvat, and then you could end up selecting the different cities of each of the regions, because otherwise I could see this slowly, like, it's already kind of a problem within Inazuma in general, and it's slowly going to become more and more of a problem as more and more regions are added to the game, right? Yeah. Another thing too about the Serenitea that's really handy is that we actually can craft fast travel points within the Serenitea, so you can actually use those fast travel points instead of pulling out your Serenitea. So I could literally just place a fast travel point down and I could literally teleport to this right now. But we'll get into that a little bit later because it's a little bit further in the patch notes. So for the different domains in the area, I only have access to the ones, but I can kind of give you guys a quick rundown that these are going to end up being domains that will give you talent level up materials for Inazuma characters, weapon ascension materials for Inazuma resources, and so on and so forth. But you can see there is the domain day of the week, you know, so these are going to end up cycling out. I'm going to have to grind one of these domains like crazy for sure. As I mentioned previously, there is underground cave network, so that's where these fast travel points and this domain ends up coming into play. There's also going to end up being the new bosses as well, but we'll get into that in a second. There's going to end up being new characters. So the current wish banner right now is Ayaka, and then after her is going to be Yoimiya. So right now we've got a katana in the weapon banner right now, and the next weapon banner is going to end up being the bow weapon, which will end up getting into the weapon banner in a moment here, because I do want to show you guys that there is the test run for Ayaka, and let me tell you, she is absolutely powerful. Like, I can't even believe how powerful she is. It kind of pisses me off, because we're looking at a character where we dash, come out of dash, and so long as you can see this blue aura on her sword, we're actually dealing cryo damage. So up until that point where it turns back to yellow, we were still doing cryo damage, which the reason why this frustrates me is because that's literally Kazuha's C6. So it's like her passive literally is worth thousands. Oh, excuse me. Ah! Her passive is literally worth like $1,000. It's ridiculous, dude. Like, I hate what this character represents in terms of power creep. It's just ridiculous, dude. I mean, I really like her character design, but the one thing that I really don't like is if I'm on the right side of her, okay, it's cool, it's not that bad. If I go my camera to the back of her, it's getting a little bit worse, and if I put my camera just to her left, we're getting a lot of panty shots, and I mean, come on, dude, like, you don't need to make it that weeby of a character. But anyways, let's just try her out. So her E ability is going to end up doing that, which is cryo damage, which is also going to end up throwing the enemies up into the air for a brief period. Her dash, as I mentioned previously, is going to end up dealing cryo damage in general. Her full 5-hit combo is really cool because it's got this dash through the enemies, and I really, in a lot of ways, again, it frustrates me how Kazuha just doesn't really compete with her, you know? Like, I love Kazuha. He's my absolute favorite character in the game right now. But Ayaka is badass, dude. Like, seriously. And her ultimate ability is basically going to throw that thing in front of you at a very slow rate, which is slowly just going through enemies and melting them. Either way, you can see that her stats that they have her for the domain, not super duper cracked. Like, that just goes to show how powerful this character is, with how powerful she would end up being if you ended up using her other, you know, had a really good artifact set and stuff. The weapon is very, very good. I'm going to end up getting this weapon for sure, but I'll explain how the weapon banner works in a moment, just because it's ridiculous. I'm not going to get into too much detail with Ayaka because I already have a video that talked about her, and I'm very surprised that they are actually using the 4-piece artifact set. I don't know whether or not the Inazuma artifact sets, like the 2 new Inazuma artifacts, I don't think those are in the game yet. They might be in one of the domains, but I haven't unlocked all of them, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. No constellations, and her talents are both, or all of them are at level 8. So, you know, pretty good example of a standard Ayaka where you rolled for her and you want to make her your main. Well, there you go. You can end up doing that very, very effectively. Now let's move on to the weapon banner, excuse you, because this actually has a new mechanic, which is the selected weapon fate points. So is the weapon banner worth rolling on? No, I still think that this weapon banner is absolutely useless to roll on, because they were very, very vague with how the fate points works. And you can see in the write-up right here, like, you can try it out for yourselves and you can see that they don't tell you how many fate points you need specifically, and just generally speaking, it's very unclear. Like, I would say that while they give you just enough info that you think you understand how it works, I was disappointed with the effect once I ended up rolling for the weapon. So basically what happens is, on the weapon banner, there's always going to end up being 2 weapons that have a chance of dropping, right? But the chance of them dropping is going to be competing numbers. It's not like a character banner where you will have the 50-50, and then if you lose that, you get pity, which is going to guarantee you the character out of the banner, right? The weapon banner can literally be the wrong weapon over and over and over again. So the fate points was trying to alleviate that. But basically what happens is, if you roll on the weapon banner after you've selected the weapon that you actually want, you'll basically build up fate points for every weapon that you get that isn't the one that you'd chosen. which basically means that you gotta roll on the weapon banner 3 times before you guarantee yourself the weapon that you actually want. Excluding if I would cancel this, it would reset my fate points, which is stupid. And of course, if I got 1 fate point and then I ended up getting the weapon that I desired, it would reset my fate points as well. So ultimately, I would say that it is a step in the right direction for the weapon banners, but I wish the weapon banners were just as good as the character banners, because it should be the whole 50-50 / pity thing. Because generally these weapon banners, all they really did was make it so that whales are going to spend more money, because now whales can get refinement rank 5 on weapons a little bit more consistently. Not easier, just more consistently. So you gotta spend a lot of money on the weapons, and I mean, generally a weapon is just not going to end up being as impressive as a character. If I knew going in how much I would have had to invest in my wishes to end up getting this freaking sword, I wouldn't have done it. Like, I spent all of my free wishes, and I would have, like, I could have spent all my free wishes and I would have got a 5-star character and Ayaka within the amount of time that I've been trying to get one of this 5-star weapon, just to put it into perspective, right? So I don't like it. It pissed me off. Anyways, we got Yoimiya going to end up being the next weapon banner, or next character banner, with her bow as well. And there's going to end up being Seiyu, a 4-star character, which we've talked about them in other videos as well. So we don't need to necessarily get into that. Oh, there are the new artifacts. Okay, so scratch what I said earlier. The new artifacts are in the game. One of them is going to basically be the same as the, going to end up being the same as a gladiator set. So the 2-piece set is actually going to end up giving you an attack percentage increase, which does mean that you could use 2-piece set of the new artifacts and a 2-piece set of gladiator, and you could have a pretty considerable amount of attack percentage increase. But anyways, another thing that I wanted to show you guys while we're on the topic of artifacts, which I think is really, really cool. Obviously, the artifact sets, by the way, are for Ayaka and Yoimiya, so they'll probably end up being their best in slot. But as you saw with the trial run of Ayaka, it's actually using a 4-piece cryo set, which I would probably recommend over the Inazuma artifacts, just because the Inazuma artifacts are powerful, but they're weird. Anyways, there's going to be a new tab over here in your crafting menu, and this is really cool. So these are going to end up being artifact strong boxes, and basically what's going to happen is we're going to have to trade 3 5-star artifacts. I'm just going to show you guys as an example right here. So for every 3 did I say 3-star artifacts? I meant 5-star artifacts, sorry. For every 3 5-star artifacts, we can exchange it for any of the, whoopsie daisy, sorry about that. I don't know why it wouldn't let me select what I wanted to. So we can end up, you know, sacrificing 3 5-star artifacts for a random gladiator, wanderer's troop, bloodstained chivalry, or noblesse artifact. It's going to be random what you get out of it, and the stats are going to be random off of them. But the point is that you can basically now farm any domain that you want, and any of the extra fodder that you have that you don't want to end up leveling your artifacts with, you can now end up exchanging for a much better rate. Well, not really a better rate, but potentially cheaper than fighting world bosses over and over to try and get a good gladiator or wanderer's troop, right? So it's cool that they have that. And in the selecting materials, you can just go on and on and on. I think you can put like 39 or 41, or there's a really hefty number of artifacts that you can end up putting in here to sacrifice in order to end up getting more and more of these boxes. So I wanted to talk about that while we were on the topic of artifacts. There's a couple different events that are going on, which we don't necessarily need to get into those today, but I will mention that there is the Thunder Sojourn, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, event, and basically what this is kind of a, these are kind of cool. It's kind of, you know how earlier I ended up mentioning how you could end up using an Electrogranum to pull yourself up to, well, that thing right there. So basically you will do that amidst fighting enemies, and you're trying to end up getting a really good time so that you can end up getting either prima gems for just completing them, but then you'll end up getting more and more rewards for getting better and better times. Generally speaking, they've been making these events very, very easily accessible for people that just, I don't know, can't get the max score or frankly speaking, don't have the time. But you'll be able to get Bedeau out of this for free if you don't already have her. There's also going to end up being the event shop with various items, including a crown and some of the new talent materials. But generally speaking, I'm going to be doing a lot of those off camera just because there's not really much point of doing them on camera. It's just kind of a weird little race challenge, whatever. There's also going to end up being some new enemies. So I think these are going to end up showing up here for me. What is this? I haven't even fought it. I thought I fought all the enemy types. Okay, cool. Maybe, you know what? That's probably Pyro Cube. Yeah, it's got to be Pyro Cube. So there's a new boss, which is basically, you know, we already had all the other elemental cubes. Now we actually have a Pyro Cube. So anybody who's got like water characters, hey, cool. There's also a Electro Pillatral. That's not new. Okay, so we had an Electro Archer. I guess we have an Electro Melee one. Whatever. There's going to end up being this bad boy right here, which is just going to end up being a normal Miniature, but it's going to end up being able to use an electric axe, which is pretty cool. Then there's this bad boy, which this is the Lawachurl, the big boy one. I absolutely love this guy. He's cool. I've only ever fought one of them just because of the location, but basically he'll give himself an electric shield and stomp around and do lots of electricity on the ground. And then this Cutum's right here. I absolutely love the Samaturls. They're some of my favorite enemies in the game. And the Electro Samaturl is just as stupid as the rest of them. He's got a new chant that's different from all the other guys, which is absolutely adorable. There's also an Electro Abyss Mage, which obviously has an Electro Shield and is he's pretty cool. He's pretty powerful. They put a lot of these enemies, you know, the electric enemies, the new enemies, they put a lot of them around water, which kind of sucks. There's also apparently Abyss Lecterns I know are out in the open world. Not exactly sure on the Abyss Herald yet, just because I haven't found any of them just yet. But there's going to be a new type of mage, which is going to be the Mirror Maiden. She'll actually teleport around and put a debuff on you and stuff. And I think this is such a cool enemy. She just looks so, like, straight out of Dark Souls, you know? There's also going to end up being a whole bunch of new mechanical enemies. So these guys will end up, like, shooting rockets at you or pillaring into the ground. The thing that you can see on the back of this guy is kind of their weak point. Not that I ever end up going for it. I usually just attack and hope that it ends up working. But you know, it's really cool that we have more of these rune type enemies or automatons. Then there's going to end up being the new boss right here, which is the Perpetual Mechanical Array. And this guy is basically going to end up being kind of a robot cube. So instead of a Pyro Cube, we got a robot cube. But the way that he phases is he's going to end up summoning these guys in between. And apparently I haven't fought one of these robots, which is kind of weird. I'll show you guys where you can end up fighting this guy. I don't necessarily want to give you guys any spoilers to how to do it, but just to say, right up here, you'll end up sailing from this island up to the Jurin Island. And right here on this little spot right here, there's basically going to end up being an Electrogranum that will end up boosting you up into the air, and well, then you can end up figuring out the rest for yourselves. But you'll basically end up going into the lair of this guy, and then you'll end up fighting him. Again, if you end up having all of the underground area, you'll be able to explore the area around this boss, I think, and then you could probably find him in a more organic way instead of the weird way that you end up doing it up here. I'm not sure though, because like I said, I don't have any of the underground, so don't quote me on it, guys. Yes, so there's the new form of treasure hoarders, which, oh my god, these guys are badass. I absolutely love them. I haven't been able to ragdoll any of them just yet, but these guys are really powerful, dude. Like, they hurt a lot. So what usually will end up happening is some of them can end up actually imbuing their weapons, but the other thing that happens is they'll actually do like a dash attack, and it can cause a lot of damage, especially because a group of them could get their dash attack ready, and then they can just dash all three of them at once, and they'll literally like one-shot your character, or at least they will if you're in will level 8 like me. But these guys look so cool, dude. Like, I wish we had a playable character variant of these guys, just because I absolutely love them. They look so cool, dude. Really, really cool. I wish Bale looked like this, because we've got the Electro Archon is in the story. No spoilies, please, but we'll end up fighting her later, which maybe she's actually the last thing. No, this is automatons. Okay, so there's a new robot I didn't fight. Either way, there's going to end up being an Electro Whopper Flower. Still just gives the same Whopper Flower resources, but I always go out of my way to fight them because I keep thinking, oh, they're gonna give me something new. Oh, right, we don't have a new weekly boss or anything like that. That's right. That's going to end up coming a little bit later, so I didn't end up having all of the enemies, but either way, cool stuff. We're going to end up going to the fast travel point here in my Serenitea pot, just so I can show you guys that there is going to end up being not only these fast travel points that you can end up just putting down in your Serenitea pot, you will have to buy them. If I can go to the depot right here, you can see there's Riches of the Realm, and then there's these bad boys. Apparently, you can put like a crap ton of these down. But you don't want to, because they literally say that they'll like crash your game or destroy your teapot or whatever. And then there's going to be the Path of Value. So these are for the new gardening. You'll need a specific Path of Value to combine with a specific plant in order to end up actually planting it. But the thing is with these, as far as I know, you'll plant them in the ground and then you gotta wait a certain amount of time before they grow. But the point is that it's gonna be like a 1-by-1 ratio. So if I would unlock the Glaze Lilies, for example, I would have to spend a Glaze Lily to craft this, and then I would get like 3 or 4 back. You still got to wait a couple days for the plants to grow, but the point is that it's just excess plants, which can end up being very useful if you're very low on some of them, or if you want to stock up like a crap ton of them so that you don't have to end up going into the open world constantly, or, you know, maybe you're trying to end up getting some of the new resources like the Naku weed. Apparently there's not much of these out in the open world, but we've got plenty of time to grind them out for Yoimiya. Not to necessarily say that I'm going to end up wishing on her or anything. But most of all, I love the fast traveling into this area. It also means that you can set them up on all of your other islands so that you have a very quick, easy way of getting around to go and see Chubby. So I could even right now keep one of these in my pocket, so that I could then end up just placing it down over by Chubby right here, so that I could just literally end up fast traveling up to him, rather than having a fast travel point on each of the islands, which is probably, whoa, a little close there, bud, probably what I'll end up doing. There's a bunch of new materials as well, including new trees. So you know how you go in the open world and you smack a bunch of trees to end up getting various resources and various wood to end up crafting stuff in the Serenitea pot? Well, now you're going to have to do that with some Inazuma stuff. I don't know if there's anything that uses the new wood. Well, there's things that use a new wood, but we don't have any Inazuma resources in the Serenitea pot yet, outside of like the seeds and stuff like that. I really want to be able to change my main house and, you know, put down Sakura trees and stuff, and just generally Inazuma looks so beautiful. I want to be able to have that in my Serenitea pot, right? They added voice lines that will trigger when a character is low HP, which I find very, very annoying. They added a bunch of Japanese voiceovers for some characters. They added new character combat voiceovers, under character profile voiceover stuff. System updates are that they added some prompts for loading screens. Barbara's outfit is in the outfit shop, apparently. Okay, cool, whatever. But there's also going to end up being cross saves for PlayStation account. I'll have another video come out that's going to talk about this, because it's not as good as you would think. The amount of pins that you can place down in the open world, they actually increased the capacity to 150 instead of 99, which is nice, but I'm still going to end up running out. They also ended up changing the boat, the Wave Rider stamina mechanism. So basically what would happen is, if you were sailing in a boat, you could then end up spending all of the stamina, jumping up out of the boat, and then you get back in and the stamina was recharged. They fixed that, which kind of sucks, because now you actually just have to wait for your stamina regen. I get it, it was a bug, but generally speaking, I just think that the boat shouldn't have stamina. It doesn't add anything to the game. It actually just becomes, I don't know, kind of annoying, right? And then there's a huge list of bug fixes, which we won't end up going through. Either way, thank you so much for watching, guys. I know that was a bit longer of a video than expected, but obviously it's a very, very big update, and I feel that we ended up touching upon each of the different mechanics quite well. I think so anyways. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that I ended up missing out about it. There's been a whole lot of very subtle things that they didn't mention in the patch notes. None of it that I can mention off the top of my head, but I've just noticed like so many little changes with the game that are either better or worse, or it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting, or that's kind of neat, or whatever, you know. You just kind of notice these things while you're out exploring. Either way, thanks for watching. Absolutely awesome update, and I do plan on doing a whole bunch of other videos for the update, including, you know, another video focusing on Ayaka and whatever else. But generally speaking, I've talked about it in other videos. I've been really busy with real life stuff, and so I'm trying my best to keep up with everything, so please just be patient with me. Either way, that's why the patch notes is so late. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want, support the channel. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.